All right, welcome back to another episode of Thoughts from the Porch podcast. Today we are so thrilled and lucky to have one of my favorite people in the world, Chloe Wilson, better known as Smiley to me because that's who she is. She smiles all the time, regardless of what she's going through, and we're just lucky to have her today. I'm gonna let her tell you her story, several stories of what she's up to, what she's been doing, how she got to where she is, all kinds of things, and just how God's using her, which is just an amazing way. So, first of all, welcome, Chloe.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Good. We're so happy to have you. We're just going to start off with a tad bit of background. I did teach Chloe at Webb, and I'm going to leave that there. But that's where our connection is, and I'll let her do the rest of this. So, first question, Chloe, is where do you go to school right now?
Yes, I'm currently going into my sophomore year at Belmont University, which is in Nashville, Tennessee. And I'm loving it. It's been the best experience so far.
Yeah. I told her at dinner tonight that I've never heard anybody go to Belmont who didn't love it.
Yes,
so
it's great.
It's got to be a special place. My daughter-in-law went. She loved it. Everybody who's been there loves it. Okay. We're going to start this thing off. She has an amazing story of how she got to Belmont, and I won't do it justice. So I'm just going to be quiet and let you tell your story of how you even got there.
Yes, so when I started touring pretty early my freshman year of high school. I started just driving on college campuses, and my parents suggested Belmont, but I was stubborn, and because they suggested it, I didn't want to like it, but I secretly fell in love with it, and from that first visit to campus, I knew that that's where I wanted to go to school. And then my senior year, when it came time to actually decide, I was between three schools, Belmont, Trevecca, and Lipscomb. And if I went to Trevecca, I was going to go on a running scholarship, and I had met the team, met the coaches, and I had fallen in love with Trevecca, but I just didn't feel a peace about it, even though it was a great school. And I just kept feeling a peace about Belmont, and so I kept pursuing that. And then finally, it came down to Belmont and Lipscomb, and so I was going to see who gave me the most money because they were both great options. But deep down, I knew Belmont was where I was supposed to be, and so I said a prayer one night, and I gave God a dollar amount, and I said, make it like this price for tuition, and I got my financial aid back, and it was not that price, and it was still $5,000 over. And my parents had given me a big chunk of money, and they said, you can go anywhere that you want, but this is the money we're giving you. But unfortunately, I was not given $60,000 a year of tuition like Belmont was. And so once I got my scholarships back, I still needed $5,000 to get to the dollar amount that I was comfortable paying for. But it came time to turn in my deposit, and that night I turned in my deposit. I paid the fee to go there, and I cried all that night because I didn't know how the money was going to be provided, but I knew that was where I was supposed to be because I felt such a peace about it. Mm-hmm. And then about 2 weeks later, I was in the car on the way to a friend's house, and my mom called, and she was like in tears, and I could tell something had happened. And she was like, we just got a letter in the mail from Belmont, and they're giving you a renewable leadership scholarship, and it's $5,000 every single year. And so then it brought my tuition to the exact price that I said I would be willing to pay this and go anywhere. And so it was such a amazing experience of knowing that's exactly where I was supposed to be, and I haven't looked back since.
I've heard that story about 3 or 4 times now, and it still gives me chills every time I hear it. That's amazing. God is good. Before we get into it, I think I'm going to arrange what I have here. Since you just finished your freshman year in college, what advice do you have for students they're about to start right now? So yeah. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I feel like I remember all the thoughts and feelings that I was having this time last year. And the rule that I made for myself that has been my favorite one is the first 3 weeks, I told myself that I had to say yes to everything. Even when I was tired, even when I just wanted to go back to my dorm, I made myself go out of my dorm. I couldn't be in my dorm unless I was sleeping. Oh. And I had to say yes to every time I got invited to a movie night, or every time I got invited to go on a walk, or every time I got invited to a game night. Every single thing I said yes to for the first 3 weeks. And it's so funny looking back because sometimes I'm not even friends anymore with the people who invited me, yes. But I met people there who now I'm friends with. And so you don't even know the connections you could make by going to things. And so I met I feel like I met all my people those first few weeks of school because I said yes to everything. So I was showing up, I was active on campus, I was meeting people. So now a year later when I'm walking around campus, I see so many familiar faces, and even if we're not best friends, I still like know them enough to be like, oh hey, how are you, and we can like catch up for a second, because I was so intentional those first few weeks. And that's when everyone is in the exact same boat. Everyone wants to make friends. You're not the only one who wants to make friends, and so say yes to everything, because everyone wants to be your friend, and it's so much easier in those first 3 weeks. So yeah, that was the thing that I'm most grateful that I did.
That is great advice. I've never heard of that before. We might could stop this podcast right now. That's really good. That's awesome advice. All right. What is your major right now? What are you going to do?
I am a social work major, and the goal right now is to do case management for kids in the foster care system, which is where my heart has always been for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Staying on that same topic, I know you were doing some work in Franklin, which is very close to Belmont, by the way, or close enough. So tell us what you do with the foster kids there in Franklin.
Yes. So this past semester, I was Tennessee Key trained, which means I'm certified to babysit kids who are in the foster care system. And so I went through an 8-week training with kind of going through some of the state of Tennessee protocol and what it looks like to really interact with kids who are in the foster care system, because it is different, because they have gone through so much trauma at such a young age. Mm-hmm. And I think the most important thing you have to remember is you can't look at them any different, because they're just kids. They're just kids like every other kid. Every kid goes through something, whether it's maybe like a learning disability or something at home or something in their personal lives. Every single kid deals with something, so you can't look at them different for it. But there are certain things that you have to be a little bit more cautious of. So I learned a lot through that training, and even for babysitting kids who aren't in the foster care system, I've taken a lot of notes and lessons from that. But I think some of the things that are super important that I took away from that we were able to after that training go and actually one-on-one be able to like incorporate the skills that we learned and babysit kids who were in the foster care system. And with the organization that we got connected to, we had, the night that we babysat, we had 15 kids, 6 and under, and there were 4 college volunteers who had all gone through this training, and so it was a really sweet night. I came home that night and I was like crying because I was so happy and so heartbroken at the same time, but I loved getting to incorporate the skills I've learned, and I think some of the most important things that I learned in that training were how these kids might be triggered out of nowhere, and you have no idea why they're triggered, and sometimes you might never know, but things like a hug can be like the biggest trigger, or even like a high five, because they don't like physical contact because of their past, and you have no idea what kids have walked through. And again, you don't want to treat them differently because of that, but you also have to be extra aware of what they might have gone through. And then certain things like certain foods, they might not like name brand foods because they were always used to gas station foods, because that was all that their parents could afford, and so they might not like this fancy meal that you've prepared for them, or these name brand snacks or whatever that may be, because that's not what they're comfortable with. They've never had that before, and they just want the familiarity of what they're used to and what they got when they were at home with their biological family. And then there's also certain topics that you just have to, like mom and dad could be a very touchy subject, because they don't know what that looks like. They have a biological family, and then they have a foster family that might be an adoption family, and it's just, there's a lot of unknowns. So sometimes it's better to just steer clear, talk to them about their favorite color and their favorite food and what they like, what their favorite subject is in school. Talk about those kind of things, because that family stuff could be, they might not want to talk about it, and it could be super triggering, and they might not feel comfortable with that. And so just being super aware of, you never know what their triggers might be, and just be aware of how you're treating them and how you're talking to them, but treat them like every other kid. Just be a little hyper aware of the topics that you're discussing around them.
This is I sit here and I'm listening to you, and I'm sitting here, am I really listening to somebody who just finished her freshman year at college? Like, you did all this on top of going to school at Belmont, and I know you did well there, so I'm not even worried about that, but oh my goodness, how powerful, just you're already pouring into so many lives while you're at school, not waiting until you get out, but while you're there, just started, and you're already doing that. You also had a cool internship this summer. What did you do this summer?
Yeah, so this summer I came back home to Knoxville and I did an internship at Cedar Springs Presbyterian Church, which is my home church that I had been going to since I was in 8th grade. And I helped out with the middle school, specifically leading the 8th grade girls. And it was the sweetest summer getting to see all the ways that the Lord is at work, even in the lives of 8th graders. And
So I won't stop you right there. You just said
Yes.
even lives of 8th graders, but I
Yes.
look at you like, okay, even life of 18, 19-year-olds, right?
Yes.
It's crazy. Keep going.
Yes. But it was super cool. I got to go to the high school camp with the high schoolers and then middle school camp with my girls, which was super sweet. And by that point, it was like midsummer, so I had already developed a relationship with them. And so I feel like going in, we already had the foundation of a relationship. So we were able to just jump right in, have fun at camp. Our small group time was really impactful. The girls were really open and vulnerable and asked really big, deep questions that I had to kind of take a step back and think of.
Yeah.
And so it was just really sweet to see that. And I remember being in 8th grade, and just that's when I felt like I really started growing up and asking hard questions and maturing a lot. So it's fun to get to look back and work with that group of girls, because I feel like 8th grade was a really big developmental year for me of when I kind of started becoming more of like an older, more responsible teenager and dealing with like big kid problems for the first time. And so it's just been really sweet to get to walk alongside them. And I also got to give some talks in front of like all of the youth group for Sunday school and then for youth group, which was fun to have a microphone and be on stage. After growing up in youth group, it was fun when I was handed the mic. I felt so cool. I was like, whoa, I'm the speaker
There
now.
you go.
So it was just really fun and really sweet. And yeah, I had a lot of very sweet moments. I got to see lots of students give their lives to the Lord at camp, which is very impactful. But also just to see all the things going on in their life and get to walk beside them and make such fun memories. It was like the best way I could have spent my summer.
That's unreal. I think, did you bring some statistics with some?
Oh, yes.
While she's looking
Yes.
that up, I do want to point out, we've talked a lot about kids here and, students, and kids are the most resilient people in the world. They're unbelievable how they can snap back from things, even though things are difficult, including physical injuries. They're so much quicker than older people are to get back. But they do need to know that they're loved. And I think that's one thing you're talking about a lot today is like loving on these kids, even though you got to be careful how you do it sometimes with the triggers and things. Yeah. Okay, I think you found us. I'll let you share what you found there.
Yes. So in the United States, there's approximately 330,000 kids in the foster care system. And then in Tennessee, there's between 8,000 and 9,000 kids in the foster care system in Tennessee alone. And I think that just breaks it down. I think it can get overlooked so often how many kids are actually affected by this. And even like at school that people go to, like you might have no idea because they're not probably going to just bring it up. And so you just have no idea how many people are around you. And until this year, I had never met anyone because I went to Webb. And so I felt like it was very sheltered from people of like diverse backgrounds. And so going now to college with people of all different backgrounds from all different states, I've gotten to meet people who grew up in the foster care system, which has just been so impactful to hear from them. And so yeah, it affects so many more kids than we may even know.
Yeah, that's amazing. Those are big numbers.
Yes.
I'm gonna ask you a question here, and I don't know the answer to, and I don't know if you have much advice either. But one thing I was thinking about putting this together is you're heavily involved. Without being, for people like us or whoever, just kind of on the periphery or outside, what can we do to help out that kind of situation?
Yeah, so I am a part of Belmont Tables, which is a club that just got started at Belmont. And I'm on the leadership team for that. And so through that, I was able to get connected to Crowded Tables. And so that's where it brings other people in. And I'm on a Crowded Tables team, and I help to oversee that with my leadership position on Belmont Tables. But it brings, at Belmont, faculty and staff and students all gather around and adopt one foster family. And they bring meals and groceries for these families, and then like around Christmas time they'll like give them gifts and stuff. And so you like adopt in a family on the team that you're on, and then you'll provide the meal, groceries, whatever else is needed bi-monthly. And so I'm a part of that. So every other week I'll go shopping for a foster family in the community and then get to drop it off. But that's available. Resources like that are available. I know that one's really big in Nashville, and I actually got to go around with two of my best friends to different churches in Antioch.
Yes.
And I got to go and speak in front of churches and promote crowded tables and try and get these families in churches to come alongside and just bring a meal. It's a simple thing. You're already cooking for your family, so you can cook for a foster family who they might have 5 kids running around and they can't think about dinner or groceries. And so it's just a really small way to make a really big impact. And so things like that of maybe trying to get connected to families who foster and just seeing, hey, how can I help out? Can I take the kids for a night? Can I drop off groceries? Do the kids need socks? Because sometimes another thing with foster care is these kids who are in the foster care system show up to the foster homes with one bag, and it's usually a trash bag, and everything they own is in that bag.
Wow.
And so they might not have socks and shoes. They might have one pair of shoes, and it's the shoes that they're wearing. They might have one outfit, and it's the outfit they're wearing. And with obviously the number of kids who are affected, like there's not enough resources to just go around and give a whole wardrobe to all of these kids. And so just like trying to find people in your community, because there definitely are, and so trying to find them and see just little ways that you can help like that, because it can make the biggest impact.
I appreciate your heart. I know you all, if you're listening to this, you can't see Chloe, or smiling, but she lights up. When she's talking about this, she's just lighting up. It's unbelievable. It's definitely her heart. Okay, before we get ready to wrap this thing up, is there anything else you would just like to share about anything else you're doing, or anything else you'd like to share, period? This is wide open for you.
Yeah, I think I would just say whatever like the Lord puts on your heart, just there's always a reason for it, and whatever you feel peace about in your life, whatever that looks like, don't let anyone try and talk you out of it or stop you from chasing those dreams. Because oftentimes someone will be like, what are you going into? And I'm like, social work. I want to work with like kids in the foster care system and advocate for them and fight for them. And I'll get, oh, that's hard, or I can't imagine, or you don't get paid very much. Yeah, it's always about the money for people. And I'm just like, if I was in it for the money, then I wouldn't be doing this stuff. But I believe that this is like going to be the most fulfilling thing that I can do. And I feel like it's something I'm called to. And so just don't let anyone stop you from doing what you feel like that you're called to do, because that's the thing that you were created to do. And so I think it's so important to pursue that. Even I always say, my senior quote was, your dreams aren't big enough unless they scare you. And so I've been learning to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. And if I'm really comfortable in the season or stage or where I am in life, then I'm not doing enough. I need to keep going and keep chasing more dreams.
Keep saying yes.
Yes, I keep saying yes. And I like to push myself. If you know me, you know that about myself.
Yes,
But it's always so worth it, because I want to look back on my life when I'm older and be able to say, I did everything I wanted to. I chased all the dreams that I wanted to. I went all the places I wanted to, and I helped the most people I could.
There is no doubt that's going to happen. I'm going to do a couple of takeaways just from listening to you and thinking about this, with knowing you were coming. And that is, there are still really big-hearted people in the world. And I'm sitting right next to one of them right now. And her heart for foster kids and just heart for kids in general is amazing. And I'm always happy to have people like that, because that's where my heart has been and always has been too. So that's really cool. And you just blew my last one. What else I had written down was how important it is to find your own calling, which is what you just talked about. Because if you find that, you're better off, the people around you are better off, and the whole world is better off, because you're doing what you're called to do. And that's just, it makes everything smooth. It's an amazing story. It's been so good having you here today, catching up. We got to catch up at dinner some. Hadn't got to talk to her much this summer because she's been busy, but she's amazing. I'm sitting here saying you're amazing. Everybody just heard this. Knows you're amazing. So thanks again for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And we'll close out with the same 3 words we always do, and that is grace and
peace.